Hey everybody, ready for another deep dive? Today we're going way back to ancient Rome with Seneca and his ideas about time.
Oh, Seneca, yeah.
Specifically this letter that he wrote called On the Shortness of Life. And,
Mhm.
he had some pretty interesting things to say about how we experience time and how we tend to
Well, waste it,
waste
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you submitted this one. And it's really cool because Seneca himself
Right.
was not just some philosopher sitting in an ivory tower,
No, not at all.
right? He had a pretty
Eventful life.
eventful life.
He was exiled by an emperor. He was later an advisor to Nero.
Oh, wow.
Got caught up in all sorts of political drama, so.
Yeah, so he was in the thick of things, and still he was like,
Right.
let me think about these big questions.
Yeah, exactly. He had a very
In life.
hands-on approach to philosophy, right? Like, he was living it and then reflecting on it.
Yeah, and that's what makes his writing so interesting. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
His main argument is that life itself isn't short. We just waste a whole bunch of it.
A lot of it, yeah, and we don't even realize it until it's almost too late.
Right. It's
Like,
like
that's the sad part.
only on our deathbed do we
My goodness, I've wasted so much time.
realize. Yeah.
Yeah, and even today, right? Like we get so caught up with work and obligations and just this feeling that we have to do all these things and we kind of lose sight of,
Mm.
what we actually want to be doing.
It's like we're on autopilot half the time, just going through the motions
Exactly.
instead of really consciously living.
Yeah.
And I love that Seneca makes this distinction between what he calls your time
Right.
and their time.
Mm-hmm.
So your time is time that you're spending freely doing things you choose to do.
Yes.
And then their time is all the stuff that you're doing for other people or because you feel
Told you
obligated.
the have-tos.
Yeah, have-tos, right? And it really makes you stop and think, like, how much of my day is actually my time?
That's a great question to ask yourself right now as you're listening. Like, how much of your day is truly yours and how much of it is spent on things that other people want you to do or that you think you should be doing?
Yeah.
It's a powerful question to consider.
Yeah, it really is kind of a wake-up call. And even when we know
Right.
we're wasting time,
Right.
there's still that feeling that we have plenty of time left, you know?
Oh, yeah. The someday trap.
Yeah, someday I'll do all those things I really want to do.
Someday when I have more time, when I have more money, when the kids are older, all those someday excuses.
But Seneca was like, nope, not buying it. Tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Yeah, and think about the context of his life, right? He was living in ancient Rome with all the political intrigue and assassinations, and, he saw firsthand how quickly things could change.
Right, like your life could be
In an instant.
over in an instant,
Yeah.
so that adds an extra layer of urgency to his message.
It does. It's like he's saying, hey, pay attention because you never know what's going to happen.
And he also talks about this thing he calls the tyranny of the future.
Yes.
This idea that we're so busy planning and worrying about what might happen that we forget to be present in the now.
Always striving, always hustling, always thinking about the next goal, and never really stopping to appreciate the moment.
Exactly. Always chasing that next thing
Mm-hmm.
instead of enjoying what we have right here, right now.
Right, and that's where Seneca says the present moment is all we truly control.
Mm-hmm.
But he also makes this really interesting point that it's the past that becomes our life's wealth.
Oh, wow. Explain that.
He's talking about the memories and the experiences that we accumulate over time.
Oh, okay.
So it's not just about enjoying the moment in the present.
Right.
It's also about making choices that will lead to a life full of rich memories that we can look back on and cherish.
It's like building a treasure chest of experiences.
Exactly, creating a life story that you'll be proud of.
I love that. Okay, so we're talking about being present, being intentional, and actually creating a life that we'll want to remember. And here's where Seneca gets a little radical.
Oh, yeah. This is the good part.
He tells his friend to quit his job.
Straight up, quit your job.
I know, right?
Drop everything and walk away.
Drop everything.
Now I realize that's not exactly practical advice for most people.
Yeah, not everybody can just up and quit their job. But
Right.
I think the message is more about figuring out how to prioritize your time and what truly matters to you.
Exactly. It's about finding ways to create more space for your passions and your purpose, even if it's just small steps at first.
Yeah, even if it's just carving out an hour a day to do something you love.
Absolutely. Any little bit helps.
Why?
And Seneca's ultimate point is this don't just exist actually a VV.
Yeah.
He believes that a long life isn't about how many years you have, it's about the richness of your experiences.
So quality over quantity.
Exactly. A short life packed with meaning can be far more valuable than a long one spent just going through the motions.
I like that. And you know what's really cool is that Seneca didn't just talk the talk. He walked the walk. Even when he was exiled, he continued to write and study philosophy. He was living proof that you can create a meaningful life no matter what your circumstances.
Yeah, he really embodied his own philosophy.
And that's what makes his message so powerful.
It does.
So this has been a great start to our deep dive into Seneca's wisdom, but there's so much more to explore.
Oh yeah, we've only just scratched the surface.
When we come back, we'll delve into the practical side of his philosophy. What specific steps can we take to reclaim our time and really savor each day? Stay tuned.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. So we've talked about how Seneca wants us to really, stop wasting time and start living with intention.
Yeah, and that's great in theory.
Right.
But, how do we actually do that?
Yeah.
In our busy, crazy modern lives? It's easy to say carpe diem,
Right.
but then you're like, okay, I've got to check my email and scroll through Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do we actually put Seneca's ideas into practice? Where do we even begin?
Well, he actually gives some really good advice, believe it or not, for someone who lived 2,000 years ago.
Okay, good.
Yeah, one of the things he talks about is self-awareness.
Okay.
Actually becoming aware of how you're spending your time instead of just letting it slip away.
So, do a time audit.
Yeah, exactly. Actually track where your hours are going.
Oh.
What are you doing? Who are you doing it for?
Mm-hmm.
And once you see those patterns, you can start to identify where you're leaking time or you're giving your energy to things that don't actually matter to you.
Yeah.
And then you can make a conscious decision to redirect that time towards things that do.
That makes sense. So step one, awareness.
Awareness.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, what's next?
Then he talks about being ruthless about eliminating distractions.
Okay.
And this is where I think the context of his life gets really interesting.
Okay. How so?
Well, he lived in ancient Rome, right?
Huge, bustling city.
Yeah. Constant noise crowds, social demands.
Like the original FOMO.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the social media of its time.
Right. But he was saying, step back from all that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get caught up in the external chaos.
Find your quiet space.
Yes. Find your own inner space to connect with what truly matters.
And that is so relevant for us today.
Oh my gosh.
Because we are constantly bombarded with information and notifications.
Yeah.
And it's like
It's a
our
verse.
minds are being pulled in a million directions.
Yeah. And so Seneca's advice is to be really picky about what you let into your mental space.
Okay.
Set boundaries. Say no to things that don't align with your values. Make time for silence and solitude.
It's like digital minimalism, but for life.
Oh, exactly. It's about being intentional about everything.
Yeah.
Your choices, who you spend time with, what you consume, how you structure your days, all of it.
And this brings us to another big idea, choosing your own path.
Yes, Seneca was a big believer in living according to your own nature, not conforming to what society expects or how other people define success.
He was basically saying, forget the rat race. Figure out what makes you come alive and go after that.
Exactly. And that's still such a radical idea.
It is.
Right, because we're so conditioned to follow certain scripts.
Yeah, get the job, buy the house,
Yeah, achieve a certain status.
climb the ladder.
But Seneca's like, no, no, no.
He's like, there's a different way.
Yeah. What truly fulfills you.
Find your own path.
Yes. Find your own path. And that takes courage.
It does.
It takes a willingness to step outside your comfort zone, to maybe disappoint people who expect you to follow a certain path.
Yeah, and that's not always easy.
It's not. But Seneca believed that it's the only way to experience genuine happiness and fulfillment.
So even if that path is shorter or less conventional,
It's still a life worth living.
it's still a life worth living. Okay, I love that. And he also talks about the importance of finding joy in the simple things.
Right. He wasn't promoting just pleasure seeking,
Right.
but he did believe in deeply appreciating those everyday moments.
So like noticing the beauty of a sunset.
Yes, savoring a delicious meal.
Have a good conversation.
Connecting with loved ones, finding meaning in your work, even if it's not your dream job.
Right.
He understood that happiness is a state of mind.
It's not a destination.
It's not a destination. It's something you cultivate by focusing on the good things you already have.
It's like gratitude, but on a deeper level.
Yes, exactly. Training yourself to see the abundance around you.
Instead of always wanting more.
Right. And this ties back to his focus on the power of the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
By being present, appreciating the little joys, fully experiencing each moment, you can create a sense of contentment that goes beyond external circumstances.
So it's not about ignoring life's challenges.
No, of course not.
But it's about choosing how we respond to them.
Exactly. Finding the good even when things are tough.
And this leads to one final, maybe surprising piece of advice from Seneca.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Be prepared for death.
Oh, wow. Okay, that got dark quickly.
I know it sounds a little morbid,
A little bit, yeah.
but he believed that thinking about our own mortality can actually help us live more fully.
How so?
Well, if you're aware that your time is limited,
Right.
you're less likely to waste it on things that don't matter.
That makes sense.
You're more likely to prioritize what's truly important,
Yeah.
to pursue your passions, to spend time with loved ones.
And make the most of every moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Seneca believed that by accepting the fact that we're all going to die, eventually we can let go of our attachment to material things
Mm-hmm.
and superficial pursuits and focus on what really matters.
Living a life of meaning.
Living a life of meaning.
Virtue connection.
Yeah.
All those good things.
And it brings us full circle to his main message.
Right.
Life isn't actually short. We just act like it is.
We do.
By being intentional with our time, focusing on what matters most, and cultivating a sense of gratitude for the present moment, we can create a rich, meaningful life no matter how many years we're given,
It's not about adding years to your life.
but adding life to your years.
Beautifully said. And I think that's a perfect transition to our last section,
Okay.
where we'll dive into some specific strategies for actually putting Seneca's wisdom into practice in your life.
I'm ready for that.
Are you ready?
Okay. So we've talked about Seneca's ideas on time and how we waste it,
Mm-hmm.
but now for the big question. How do we actually put all this wisdom into practice?
Yeah, right. It's one thing to read about it.
It can't just be about meditating on death all the time, right?
Not all the time, although that can be helpful.
Okay, so what are some concrete steps we can take to reclaim our time?
Well, one thing Seneca talks about a lot is choosing your friends carefully.
Okay.
He believes that the people you surround yourself with have a huge impact on how you spend your time.
It's like that saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Exactly. And Seneca was way ahead of his time on that one.
So he's saying be mindful of who's influencing you.
Yes, because being around negative or superficial people can drain your energy
Yeah.
and make you more likely to waste time on things that don't matter.
Makes sense. So it's not about ditching all your friends who have different interests,
No, not at all.
but more about being intentional about who you're letting into your inner circle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Choose to spend time with people who inspire you, who challenge you, who support your growth.
Yeah, and that goes for work too.
Right. Absolutely. Your work environment has a huge impact on your well-being.
If you're surrounded by people who are stressed and burnt out,
It's going to be hard to prioritize your own time and energy,
so maybe it's time to find some like-minded colleagues or friends who...
who value balance and well-being.
Okay, so choose your friends wisely. What else?
Another practical tip is to be mindful of how you consume information.
Okay, that's a big one in today's world.
Oh, yeah. Huge.
Information overload everywhere you look.
And Seneca was very aware of this even back then.
Really?
Yeah, he lived in a time when books were precious.
Right, not like today where you can just scroll endlessly.
Exactly. And he believed that filling your head with useless trivia or constantly seeking distraction could actually make it harder to think clearly.
So he's saying be selective about what you let into your mind.
Yes, choose quality over quantity.
Okay, unsubscribe from those email newsletters you never read.
Unfollow those social media accounts that make you feel bad.
Make time for content that actually nourishes your mind and soul.
And that goes for leisure time, too.
Okay, how so?
Seneca believed that true leisure should be restorative, not just another form of distraction.
So instead of binge watching TV,
Maybe try reading a book that expands your perspective.
taking a walk in nature,
Having a deep conversation with someone you care about.
doing something creative.
It's about choosing activities that energize you and create lasting memories.
Because remember, our memories are our true wealth.
Exactly. They're the experiences we carry with us long after the actual events are over.
This is all great advice, and here's one more thing that really resonated with me.
Okay, what's that?
Don't be afraid to say no.
Oh, that's a big one.
It is Seneca believed that we often waste time on obligations that don't align with our values.
Right, we feel like we have to say yes to everything.
That's because we don't want to disappoint people.
But Seneca reminds us that we all have a limited amount of time and energy.
I can't do it all.
We can't, and we shouldn't try to.
So it's about setting boundaries,
Yes, politely declining those invitations.
delegating tasks that others can handle.
Putting your own well-being first.
Because ultimately, when you're taking care of yourself,
you can show up more fully for the things that truly matter.
Wow, this has been such an inspiring deep dive into Seneca's wisdom,
His ideas are so timeless.
even though he lived centuries ago.
It's amazing how relevant they still are today.
And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that living a fulfilling life isn't about some grand plan.
No, it's about those small daily choices,
It's about being intentional with your time
appreciating the present moment.
and creating a life that you're proud of.
So beautifully put.
So what resonated with you most from Seneca's wisdom? What's one small change you can make today to reclaim your time and live more intentionally? We'd love to hear your thoughts, so share them with us. And remember, as Seneca himself said, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements if it were all well invested. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep making your time count.